Luka Dončić has a triple-double as the Lakers pick up a massive win against the Nuggets in Denver. But a lot of good things starting with the defense to talk about. That's next.
You are Locked On Lakers, your daily Los Angeles Lakers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks to everybody for making Locked On Lakers first listen of every day, Monday through Friday. No matter how, where you get your podcasts, this one's always going to be free for you, never behind paywall. Locked On Lakers on YouTube is where over 37,000 subscribers are all hanging out, talking to us, talking to each other. But Andy, no matter how people get the podcast, whether it's Apple, whether it's Spotify, they are part of making this podcast network, the Locked On Podcast Network, the number one sports podcast network in any known universe. Brian Kamenetsky, Andy Kamenetsky, covered the Lakers for nearly 20 years for the LA Times, for ESPN, for The Athletic. And Andy, I'm not going to say there aren't bigger wins in Lakers history than this one, because that would be ridiculous. But in terms of this season, what they did in Denver on Tuesday night, a big 115-107 win over the Nuggets behind a masterful effort from Luka Dončić. This was as good of a win as they've had this season.
This was one of the biggest wins of the season. If it's not the best comeback win of the season, it's got to be pretty close. I would say it is top three in either respect. It was also a game, and I guess by definition, if I mention there's a comeback, it means something had to have gone wrong in the first half. But the first half was littered with so many disasters. You would not have seen this final result coming, whether you are, and we'll break down exactly what went wrong before we explain how incredible it was that the Lakers managed to turn this thing around and how many different guys chipped in to make it happen. You know, led by Luka Dončić, led by LeBron, but a lot of different guys chipping in. But to put this in perspective, Denver shot roughly 1,000,000,000% from behind the arc in the first quarter. Just absolutely.
I believe they made 9 of their first 11 three-pointers.
They did. They made 9 of their first 11 three-pointers. They scored 71 points in the first half. The Lakers gave up 9 points in the final 52 seconds of this game. Disasters
of the half.
Excuse me, of the first half. They gave up 9 points in the final 52 seconds of the first half. Just disasters on both sides of the ball. Things, we'll break down the details, that you might not have even thought were possible managed to happen in those 52 seconds to close out the first half. But then the Lakers turned so many different things around in the second half, had so many different guys step up to make this happen. Like, this was a terrific win for the season.
Want to let people know that today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Before tip-off, check the FanDuel app and see what's dropping during NBA Happy Hour every Friday from 6 to 7:30 Eastern or 3 to 4:30 on the West Coast. Yeah, I mean, and one of the interesting things about and encouraging things even really about the Toronto win on Sunday at the Crypt was that they did it without a big performance from Luka. It was nice to see the Lakers manage to beat a good team, and Toronto has played quite well this year. Managed to beat a good team without having to rely on some sort of supernova performance from Luka. That was then. This is today, Andy, and Luka. They got the other half of that in this game on Tuesday, where Luka, in basically every moment he was on the floor, except for one of those goofy turnovers at the end of the first half that led to a Gordon 3. Luka controlled every aspect of the game while he was playing. He finishes with 38 points on a very efficient 12 of 21 shooting. He made 11 of his 12 free throws. He was the best free throw getter and maker for the Lakers, who were not very good from the line in the game. It's really the only blemish that they had as a team. But he had 13 rebounds, 10 assists. He had a pair of steals. and again, just controlled every aspect of the game while he was on the floor. Fantastic Luka performance. So they got the game where they beat the good team without a big performance from Luka. Nice to know you can still do it when he does give you a classic Luka game.
He opened 6 of 6 for this game with 16 points. At the 2:20 mark of the first quarter, I believe the rest of the team only had 6 points. So this was one of those first quarters that, I mean, we've talked before how at times it has felt like these first quarter Luka-paloozas, while incredible theater to watch, aren't always the best way to get the rest of the guys in rhythm, right, to really establish a good offense. In this particular game, with the way Denver was hitting every single shot, I did not give an F where the Lakers got their points. They just needed to keep pace as best as possible. Luka in that first quarter was huge.
Yeah. And so, you start looking around the roster for other good performances that they got. LeBron, particularly big in the second half, 8 of 15 from the floor, 9 rebounds, 8 assists. He had 19 points. He was a plus 13 on the night, which is good to see. Marcus Smart had 15 points, hit half of his 3-point attempts. And then Andy, you look
huge
at the bench.
Fourth quarter three. I believe all 3 of his threes were in the fourth quarter, and they were huge.
Yes,
buckets.
It's nice to see the Lakers hit shots. So like when those, I call them gotta have it threes, where like it's open, it's there, it's the time of game where you need to be able to hit an open shot. The Lakers got couple of those, and obviously from Smart. Nobody scored double figures coming off the bench, which is not unusual for the Lakers, but they did have 3 guys who had 9. And so between Rui Hachimura and Jaxson Hayes, who started the second half for DeAndre Ayton, who got poked in the eye, hopefully won't miss too much time. And then, of course, Timme, 9 points in 11 minutes. JJ Redick, I think very much is trying to figure out how to use him strategically, because he's got a lot of offensive skill. I believe he's the leading scorer in Gonzaga history, which is saying something, because there've been a lot of good players who've gone through and played there. So the guy's got plenty of offensive skill. He's slow AF, as the kids might say, but he's got a lot. And so Lakers coaching staff trying to figure out how to use him in ways where they can maximize the offensive capabilities. He was big. It just felt that they looked like a good team. They just look like a quality team, especially in the second half, building on that Toronto game.
Well, I was going to say that one of the things that we talked about a lot after that win over the Raptors was it was the most cohesive, just as a group, that the Lakers had looked in a while. Like the best they had looked in terms of just playing with intentionality, in terms of playing with everybody seemingly on the same page. It's 2 good, right? If you want to say 1.5 good defensive performances in a row. And, the first quarter with Denver just crushing it from outside was a combination of the Lakers messing up some coverage, a zone that JJ said they opened with. And as he noted, the man afterwards, when we adjusted, wasn't much better, but struggling
said it was worse.
Yeah. Struggling with some coverage. And also, too, Denver making at times some pretty contested shots, but they picked things up as they went along. I want to talk about, over the course of this show, some of the adjustments that JJ made defensively that I really liked, in particular because they reflected JJ getting outside of his comfort zone, which is something that I said before, on both sides of the ball. I feel like JJ can be reluctant to do the things that he doesn't.
It was let's do that next, because it was a defensive adjustment that set the tone for a second half in which the Lakers allowed 36 points.
Yep.
36 points in the second half, 17 in the third, 19 in the fourth. That is a stunning bit of work from a Lakers team that I think, Andy, we've all noticed sometimes does struggle to keep teams from putting the ball in the basket. Again, 36 points, and it was predicated on a major change in coverage. And so we'll do that next.
Locked on Lakers is brought to you by FanDuel. Fridays already feel different during basketball season. FanDuel is making them even better. Every Friday night before the games tip off, FanDuel gives fans a new way to kick off the weekend with NBA Happy Hour. NBA Happy Hour is your official pregame, a limited time window where special offers drop right inside the FanDuel app before the action starts. Fridays from 6 to 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time have become appointment viewing with NBA Happy Hour opening the FanDuel app during Happy Hour. Always brings something new, boosts, bonuses, surprises. It's easy to check the weekly special before tip-off, make a move before the window closes. So before tip-off, check the FanDuel app, see what's dropping during the NBA Happy Hour every Friday from 6 to 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time. A little basketball, a little action, and a whole lot of Friday energy. That's NBA Happy Hour only on FanDuel, the official sportsbook partner of the NBA.
Get right back to the game here in a second. Do want to let people know about the Everydayer Club. If you're looking for a little bit more of your Locked On Lakers experience, go join the Everydayer Club. Gives you access to the Discord channel that is for the Locked On Discord channel, which includes a channel for the Locked On Lakers. Talk to us, talk to other fans, and we're going to use that stuff that happens in that chat on the show. Bring in some of the commentary, bring in some of the debates that are going on there. We can use all that here. In addition to that, you also get the show without advertisements. So if that's something you would like to have, and some of you we know because we get your emails, go join the Everydayer Club, and that can be your deal. $5 a month, $50 a year. LockedOnLakers.supercast.com. LockedOnLakers.supercast.com. It's in the show notes as well. Check it out. Jamal Murray did Jamal Murray things, giving Lakers flashbacks of other times that Jamal Murray has absolutely torched them. And in the second half, they said, that is not how we're going to lose this game. We're going to lose this game. It's going to be someone else other than Jamal Murray. And they very aggressively use double teams to get the ball out of Murray's hands, to make it harder for him to get to his spots, to make it just harder for him to shoot. And he did not have a bucket until close to the end of the fourth quarter.
He scored 26 points in the first half, including, I'm guessing, like a 50-footer to beat the first half buzzer, part of that 9-point debacle for the Lakers. That actually, I mean, this is important to note the sequence because, A, it's head spinning just how many things went wrong, but it also pinpoints the moment where they lost DeAndre Ayton. During the sequence where Denver missed a shot, DeAndre was going up for a defensive rebound. He got hit in the face by at least 2 Nuggets and in the eye, like he was out of commission. He was staying at the defensive end of the floor as the Lakers started moving with the ball because he just was incapacitated. And as the Lakers came back on the other end, DeAndre still was not reacting. He was just covering his face. During that period, you had not just Denver making shots, you had Luka getting an and one basket and somehow managing to get hit up with a tee after making
that was a new one.
Basket.
That was definitely a new one.
By the way, Luka's now at 13 techs. You get suspended at 16 automatically, meaning Luka has now an allowance of 2 techs over the next 40 games. At the risk of sounding like a skeptic, I don't think he's going to avoid a suspension.
Yeah,
and by the way, Luka hasn't even played in all 42 games, and he's managed to get to.
I do wonder if maybe there's a chance they'll, sometimes you can get these rescinded. Like, maybe there's a chance they could figure out a way.
How many of them?
Just this one.
What do you think they're going to rescind? Like 7 of them?
But I'm saying maybe this was one because it seemed like they were at least claiming some sense of misunderstanding. But my guess is what the league will say is that even after he got the call, he continued complaining, and so. And then you had a couple lobs set up for Denver that they scored on.
LeBron ended up getting called for an offensive foul, just a very obvious charge. And then Denver closed that first half again with Jamal Murray hitting like a 50-foot three-pointer. And
right.
The lead went from Denver up 6. It was insane. They ended up 14, I believe, at the half. And that adjustment that JJ made, going 2 on the ball, really aggressively trapping, making him give up the ball. Jamal Murray went from scoring 26 in the first half, 2 in the second. And it was significant, A, because it was really effective, but B, because it represented JJ going outside of his comfort zone. JJ has said multiple times he does not like putting 2 on the ball. Like, philosophically, I think beyond even this roster, he doesn't like doing it. But he recognized,
but especially with this roster,
right?
They put themselves at some. They can, at least sometimes, depending on how they're playing, put themselves at significant disadvantage because you have to rotate and read and move quickly and aggressively and decisively, and it doesn't often work with this group, or hasn't at times.
Well, it hasn't, but I will say this. I mean, first of all, as JJ said, he and the coaching staff are really working hard at trying to land on defensive solutions for a group that does not profile to be a high-end elite defense. Like, they just don't have the personnel for it. But they have to be better than they have been. And as he said, we're going to have to get a little weird sometimes. And for JJ, this group, something like weird may constitute what other teams would say is more conventional, 2 on the ball, trapping, whatever. What I like about it for this group, though, I will say, even recognizing some of the personnel limitations, I like it because it's active. Yep. I like it because it puts these guys continually in a place where they cannot relax at all. And this group has a bad habit of relaxing, defending passively, defending without intensity, switching in ways that feel like you're asking the other team, how would you like us to defend you?
Well,
what would be to your preference?
It's not just like I think that they get, lazy or something like that. Although, I mean, every team does, and certainly this team's no exception, but like they get passive in part. I mean, I thought the other day when Redick was talking about the kind of like the fear of getting up into someone's jersey because you can't guard them, so you got to give them a little space. That leaves space, the extra foot that a player needs to get that 3-pointer off, whatever it might be. When they're doubling as aggressively as they are, I agree with you. It's so proactive that it forces everybody to be moving, because now you got to move to recover. Now you have to move to your next spot. Everybody's got to do it because there's somebody's open on the floor. And it's like a lot of things, like against Toronto, when they used that essentially, 4.5 bigs in their zone against the Raptors. It's not so that hell they opened with a zone against Denver on Tuesday, which is not exactly the norm. It's like, can you run a big zone against everyone? No. Are they going to be as successful against most team or other teams as they were against Denver with this strategy of really getting one player off the ball consistently throughout a half? I don't know. Maybe not. Denver has played very well without Jokic, all things considered. They're also down Christian Brown. They're also down Cam Johnson. Guys like Peyton Watson and Aaron Gordon are good ball movers, but they're not guards. They're not distributors in that way. And so does this strategy work against everyone? No. And what I think they're going to have to do, which is what I think he was implying, is get kind of creative game to game with different things, try different stuff against different teams and see what happens. And that's fine.
But it's not just fine. It's great. And I say it's great, A, because you may just land on some solutions, but B, it's great because, again, I think it represents JJ getting out of his comfort zone. I think it represents him in some ways giving up control. And JJ is a coach that I think relishes control. I think he does not. All coaches hate witnessing.
Explain to me, how's he giving up control?
Because I think he's moving outside things that he's most comfortable with, and has to at times, as they're doing certain things that he does not agree with or fall back on as much philosophically, he may have to work through certain kinks. He may have to approach this in ways that he's not as comfortable with. And I think JJ, comfort zones and control can go hand in hand. I mean, you take it back to the way that's fine. The way he shortened insanely his bench during the playoffs last year in a way that he was not willing to live with the imperfections and flaws of half his roster, which you cannot win games that way. I like seeing JJ move outside the spaces that he feels more comfortable with, either philosophically, or he looks at either the analytics or the player profiles, whatever, and just moves outside the things that may feel as logical to him, because you got to try something different. So great stuff from him tonight. Like, I thought he really coached and adjusted a really good game. I think his rotations the last couple of games have been really good. Liked what I've seen.
Let's talk a little bit about that question of rotations, because and some good news about Austin Reeves. And so we'll do all of those things next.
Locked on Lakers is brought to you by Quo New Year's New Systems. This is the time when a lot of us look at the messier parts of running a business and think it's got to be a better way. There is Quo, Q-U-O, the smarter way to run your business communications. If you are ready to make your workday smoother, keep customers connected without headaches, Quo makes upgrading your setup easier than ever. Having calls, texts, and voicemails in one clean view keeps everything organized. It helps you stay responsive. And being able to share one team number, just one entire team, makes it so much easier to ensure nothing gets missed. So make this the year where no opportunity, no customer slips away. Try Quo for free, plus get 20% off for 6 months when you go to quo.com/lockedonnba. That's QUO.com/lockedonnba. Quo. No missed calls, no missed customers.
So the Austin Reeves update, before we will finish out, just reacting to Tuesday's win. JJ Redick said before the game that the expectation is that Austin would join the team at some point before the end of the road trip. So that means basically, the end of the month, February 2nd, I think, is the last day of the road trip. I'll be honest, a little quicker than I thought it was going to be. I really wasn't sure if he'd play before the end of the before the All-Star break. So if the Lakers can get him,
he's seeing injury replacement possibilities for the All-Star game.
That's right.
Wants to make himself available.
If we can get him safely back on the floor and ready to play, that would be a major boost for the Lakers as they head into the break. So that, I thought that was excellent news. Beyond that, I mean, these little adjustments in the rotation are interesting. Like, Kobe Buffkin got a pretty decent sized look. I don't think the Lakers loved what they saw, or at the very least weren't blown away by it, because Buffkin didn't play in this game. And I don't think he played did he play against Toronto? I don't think so.
Unless there was garbage time.
Right. That's what I'm saying. I'm trying to remember if there was something at the end, but he didn't play as a member of the rotation as he did in the other two games prior. But, they tried that, and now they're weaving in Drew Timme for 10 to 15 minutes a night, which, by the way, I think is about as much as you can play him before some of the defensive limitations start to become more exploitable. But man, does he bring a skill set for those 10 to 15 minutes that is badly needed, whether it's, posting up, whether it's being able to hit an outside shot. He moves the ball very well. Somebody I saw on Twitter pointed out a couple little plays he makes screening guys off. And he's a really smart and talented offensive player. He is extremely slow by NBA standards. And so that's going to be a limiting factor. But this injection of a little bit of skill into their offense over the last couple of games has been very noticeable.
Yeah, and then when you combine him and Rui, Rui, he did not have his most efficient 9 points, 4 of 13 from the field, but he did have 6 rebounds, an assist, a steal. I thought in the fourth quarter, Rui was part of. There were 6 guys for most of the fourth quarter: Luka, LeBron, Rui, Jake, Marcus, and Jaxson Hayes, who, just in case we forget, Jax was huge in this game in the second half, stepping up for DeAndre Ayton. He was really, really good on both ends of the floor. There were several sequences where he got rebounds on the defensive end, had really good challenges, ended up being a part of scoring sequences. Him and Luka, that chemistry they have together, like Jax was really big on a night where they needed him. But those 6 guys I named were rotating in and out and made so many good plays on both sides of the ball. Like Rui was a part of that defensive surge, even if you look at his box score and think that he had a pretty off night. But when you have now Rui, who is a 3-level scorer, Timme, who can score inside and out, and Jax in his normal role playing off the bench as a lob threat, all of a sudden now you have a bench unit that had been starved for scoring that has a little bit more scoring dimension to it. Like I'm not claiming that any of these guys, other than maybe the best version of Rui, are guys that you get scared about putting up like 25, going off for 25 or 30 off the bench. But they're guys that you have to at least account for offensively. And the Lakers have not had that in really this entire season in terms of their bench. So it just adds a different dimension.
Yeah, and when Austin comes back, it's going to be easier to sort of spread that around. But I mean, if you look back at what Timme did in Brooklyn last year when he was able to play, he had double figures in all but 2 of the, that looks like 12 games that he played, 11, something like that, which again, not a huge sample size, but he averaged 12, just over 12 points a game. And, that's not nothing. And, so the skill is clearly there. They need to find ways to make scoring easier. And having another kind of fulcrum there as a guy who can make the right pass, the ball gets in and out of his hands quickly. He anticipates well, knows what he wants to do. Having that skill set there just makes things a little bit easier and keeps things, you don't have to rely on guys who maybe aren't as skilled at that to get that done. And so every little bit that they can do to make themselves a better offensive team is going to make them a better defensive team.
Yeah. And with Timme as well, like you can play him with Hayes, you can play him with Ayton, because he can space the floor. Like obviously playing him with, Ayton more so than Hayes, but I think both, like you have to start thinking about the defensive issues that could pop up and who are the other 3.
Well, the minute you put him on the floor, you have to start.
Sure. But but in particular, you have to be thinking about like who's the big next to him, Sure. I think depending on certain lineups, it might actually be better if Vando is out there with compared to Ayton or Hayes. Like, if you have LeBron out there, if you have Rui out there, like I think it helps to just have more size out there with Timme in general. But Timmy's ability to space the floor and his confidence in doing it, like he is not shy about putting up shots. And that's in and of itself something the bench has needed. Just guys who are actually willing and looking to put up their shot. Like other than Nick Smith Jr., who just the other issues in his game keep coming up, and I think ultimately prevented him from, JJ gave him an opportunity and ultimately didn't come through with it. They just have not had enough guys off the bench consistently looking for their own offense. For all of Timmy's other issues, he looks to put up shots.
Well, look, I mean, with Smith,
He's not greedy, but he looks to do it.
no, he's a confident offensive player. And like Smith, it's not even that so much that Smith is like really good at this stuff, but he was like the only guy on the team and has been like the only guy on the team who can put the ball on the floor off the bench and create a shot. And that has been that's something that you need. Now, Timme is less, he's not going to line somebody up on the, at the 3-point line, make a couple shimmy moves, put the ball on the floor and like drive. But if you give like he can make those kinds of one-on-one plays, just looks different. However they can vary up their skill sets is badly needed. I mean, but this is a game that if you're looking for reasons there are plenty of reasons to doubt what the Lakers have been doing this year and say that sure their wins are, they count, but if you really look at it, it's hard to take them seriously as a contender. Even though they're now 26-16, and just a shade back of Denver. Even looking at that, but this is the type of game where you can say, okay, actually, plug Austin Reeves into that, and they look like that could be a tough team. Don't know if they can win 3 rounds, but they certainly could win a round against most teams.
Yeah, I mean, they have to play at the top of their game because their flaws are so exploitable. Like they are a team that the rest of the league, even some of the bad teams around the league, have figured out the ways to exploit the way Lakers' weaknesses because, frankly, they're not that difficult to figure out. So
pretty obvious.
They have to execute at the top of their game. Like they have to remain as focused as they possibly can for the entirety of 48 minutes. And also, too, they have to make sure that they are leveraging the stuff that they do have, the advantage that they do have, beyond just what can Luka do, what can LeBron do, what can Austin do once he's back. Like their physicality, their size. Like during the first half of this game, Stu Lance and a shout out to Edwin Garcia from Silver Screen and Roll, friend of the show, who transcribed this and noted like Stu during the first half of the game, Stu Lance noted how, quote, they're always allowing guys to flash into the post area without any kind of duress under them. They're going to get an easy shot if you don't put some type of physicality on them. The Lakers have, if they want to use it, a lot of physicality. Like they have the ability to be physical. They have the ability to be big, to leverage size. It's on them to actually do it. In the second half, they just brought more of it. They just brought more of that physicality, more of that intentionality. Like those are the type of things that they're going to have to do. It gets back to why I hate the way they switch so much, like, and the way that they do it. Like, it leads into their worst impulses as a defensive team. I would rather them
something that's designed to be easier for teams that aren't, really good and aren't, thoughtful, don't have a lot of skill, but like the way they do it and the way their players execute it. I don't know if it's, I doubt it's the way the coaching staff draws it up, but the way it gets executed I don't think they want them switching as soft as they do. Maybe as frequent, maybe a long time, man. But you can see by the body language on the bench and stuff like that when you're watching some of these sequences and some of these possessions that that's not quite what it's supposed to look like. But it's just this way forces them to move and it forces them to be big. And you look at it and Luka plays like this and LeBron is sort of turning kind of turning it around and looking really good. And it's again, they just become a scary team, a threatening team at least.
Before we go, I want to shout out one play LeBron made. You actually texted me during the game because this was in the fourth quarter. There was this sequence where along the wing, Luka fed Rui and LeBron off ball, like near the top of the arc, actually signaled to Rui, basically like, way to beat. I'm going to dive. Rui ends
Well,
up
right. I
setting
mean,
up.
this was where Denver did the other thing, like because Luka was lighting them up. They got the ball out of Luka's hands, and Luka, who is not afraid of a double team at all, and can find the open man anywhere, found easy dump off to Rui, and then LeBron saw this from a mile away, and it's the difference between what Denver had available to them, despite guys like Watts and all these really good players. But having like a second supercomputer on the floor in LeBron, he knew what Luka was going to do with the ball in the same way that Luka knew what he was going to do with the ball and what was going to be available. And the timing of that cut was perfect.
It's the rare instance when you see somebody running the offense off ball. Like you don't see that very often. It was really cool to watch.
Also a rare opportunity for Rui to be dishing out assists. Yeah. Locked On Lakers on YouTube is where you go hang out with over 37,000 subscribers to the channel. Lakers have a day off before continuing the Grammy road trip in Los Angeles, because now the Clippers have their own arena. So that actually works out pretty well for the Lakers. They'll get to sleep in their own bed for a couple nights. And that is going to be a fun game because the Clippers, if you haven't been paying attention, the Clippers are arguably the hottest team in all of the Western Conference. They have played quite well and put themselves back into the top 10. And so a big test for the Lakers on Thursday. We'll see everyone tomorrow.